Welcome to A Billion Realities, where we explore all topics related to spirituality, psychology, and the power of the mind. And now your host, Jessica Gerlach.
PodcastCadet.com provides a one-on-one private consultation for anyone, whether you are just starting or already have a podcast that you want to take to the next level. They have the professionals to help you. Visit PodcastCadet.com today and use the code REALITY20 to save 20% off your entire purchase. I've personally used this service, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. Today on A Billion Realities, the Enlightenment series, we are speaking to two amazing men whose lives revolve around health, fitness, and spirituality. Russ Terlecki, whom you may remember from previous episodes, is a jiu-jitsu black belt and coach, green juice and raw foods lover, wrestler, soccer player, and oxygen advantage advocate. Our other guest is an insightful, skilled, high-performance health expert, mind-body mastery coach, wellness entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and podcast host, Ronnie Landis. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
So happy to be here.
Likewise.
I'm so excited for this episode. So, Russ, where are you joining us from today?
I am in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, at the beginning of the New Jersey shore, right near Sandy Hook.
Amazing. And how about you, Ronnie?
I am in Austin, Texas right now, and it is, you mentioned, Russ, you mentioned the sun. I'd say really soak it up and enjoy it because it has been raining like crazy over here for the last week.
Well, last night it rained like cats and dogs. I heard it all night long. They said we were supposed to get like 3 inches last night. So yeah, I think we're getting a reprieve. We're getting a little bit of the sun for a bit, and I think it's supposed to start raining again, but it's all good.
You're enjoying it while you can.
It's all good. I love life.
So I'm so curious, Ronnie, can you tell us what it means to be a high-performance health expert?
Okay, cool. Yeah, great question. So the terminology high performance health really came through the realization that the entire health and even the nutrition industry that I've been part of for the last 10 years or so was really focusing on symptoms. It was really focusing on superficial or surface level type of conversations. And there had been this theme about what does health really mean? And for me, health is just a byproduct of being a naturally balanced human being. It's a byproduct, it's a birthright, I should say, of being a balanced, harmonious, and integrated human being, right? That's something that shouldn't even be up for question. But in the world that we live in, for so many different reasons that we could get into if we want to, health is a scarce kind of resource. And to me, health is really about the optimal performance of the human body, the psyche, the mental, the psychological aspect, our mental health, our emotional composure, our emotional health, and our spiritual health, right? Those are the 4 quadrants or the 4 components of holistic health or the human experience. And so for me, I really dug deep into the meaning of what does it mean to be healthy. Not just the superficial thing, not just the allopathic definition, the medical model definition of health, which is the absence of disease, but really what does it mean through and through? And to me, it really is like health is the ability, the abundance of energy, life force, and vitality to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it, and to have the ability to pursue your dreams and your goals with as much energy as humanly possible. And so this idea of high performance health really started to come alive for me because I had actually been raised as a martial artist and a high performance athlete most of my life. Since I was 4 years old into my early 20s, I was really focused on martial arts, competitive sports, basketball, and then eventually competitive taekwondo. And I competed nationally and internationally in taekwondo. So I come from a high performance sport background. And then the health thing started to become the primary focus of my life. And then those two things started to connect. And then I think a number of years ago, it really all just came together, this realization that most people don't have they don't have the physiological energy to actually pursue their goals. We have an entire personal development industry that's telling people from loudspeakers on stages, you gotta, get up and do it and crush it, and all these kind of overt, hyper masculine messages, which are like, they're motivational, but the biggest missing piece is like, some people don't actually have the physiological energy, and they're actually burning themselves out trying to follow these motivational messages, and then they feel worse about themselves because it's like, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get up in the morning? Why can't I get this going? And it's like, yeah, because you don't actually have the oil in the kettle, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You don't actually, your body is not actually able to produce the hormones and the energy you need because something's out of balance. And so it just really started to become this perspective that health is about high performance, and to the ability to perform in whatever is meaningful to the individual. And that's kind of how that all came together.
That's incredible. I love what you said too about, what we're taught about health or high performance when it comes to competitive sports. Like you said, there's this whole picture, spirituality, health of body, mind, and soul that isn't really addressed. It's starting to become more addressed now with people like you, of course. But yeah, you make such great points.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jess.
No, I was just going to ask you, Russ, how did you meet Ronnie, and what has your experience been like with him?
It's all good stuff with Ron. Every conversation that we have is enlightening and beautiful. But I met Ronnie because I was interested in a nutrition product that David Wolf had, and a friend of mine, Layla Love, she's an artist, and I knew her from New York City for many years. She introduced me to Ronnie. Layla, I believe, was staying at the time with David at his place in Hawaii, but she said, you know what, you should meet my friend Ronnie. And then I said, okay, that's great. And I gave Ronnie a call, and he and I connected on many levels. We connected because we both have the background of sports and martial arts, and we both have studied nutrition for many years. And I think, after listening to his opening here, that's what it is all about. It's about connecting the spirituality, the nutrition, and the sports all together as a holistic approach to life. And like you said as well, like Ronnie said, it depends on what you're looking to do as an individual. But if you're an athlete, you have to address all of those areas. I think you said that there was 4 areas, right, Ron?
Yeah, mind, body, spirit, and heart.
Yeah. So he and I are just aligned on so many fronts, and he and I have had many conversations like this on our own, and that's why I guess we're all on the phone today, because of my friendship with you, Jessica, and we all three are aligned in many ways as far as our thought processes are concerned.
Absolutely. Love it. So Ronnie, I saw in my research that you have some highly impressive testimonials. What's it been like being part of the health and healing of so many influential people?
Yeah, well, as far as the influential people in my life, I don't know how much I've been part of their health and healing other than our conversations or any particular work that we've done together. I'm definitely humbled by all that, and they've made, all these individuals that I've come across have made a huge, particularly people like David Wolf, have made a monumental impact in my worldview, my perspective, my way of thinking, my protocols and approaches, and just the way that I approach health and nutrition and really life as a whole. So it's been incredible. It's like I'm trying to find the way to phrase it. It's really synchronistic. The word synchronicity really comes to mind, and I really learned what that really meant through people like David Wolf, and he was one of my original mentors over 10 years ago, and kind of the individual that helped usher in a brand new way of thinking about health and thinking about nutrition and raw foods and superfoods and herbalism, and even getting into harvesting wild spring water and even knowing that that's a thing, and getting plugged back into the motherboard of nature's intelligence versus just going to a shopping market and just going in and perusing the Whole Foods or the Trader Joe's or the designer health food stores and thinking that was health. That's kind of the middleman to health in a city like Los Angeles, for example, or maybe New York. But real health is about connecting to nature and getting back to nature and tuning in with the synchronistic geometry that nature has in store for all of us, and that being what it is. That's kind of like what my journey has taken me through. And so all the influential people that I've come across, it's been just pure magic. It's nothing that I anticipated. And also having a podcast has allowed me to create conversations and access points to a lot of people that maybe I wouldn't have had access to before. And then sometimes these friendships just form with different individuals that we have a resonance with. We just click, like, me and Russ, like he mentioned, we just got on the phone and we just clicked and just went all over the place with so many different things, particularly the COVID pantomime that we're making our way out of, hopefully right now. And, it's just really been a magical exploration into what's possible and really what's possible when you follow your mission. What's possible when you follow that intuitive thread that each one of us has, and that intuitive thread really comes alive when you do the cleaning, the cleansing, the detoxification. You start nourishing your body with living foods in particular, and just see where it takes you. That intuition gets stronger, and the more we follow it, we develop this kind of like spiritual muscle. And it has its own intelligence, and that's really been the thing for me that's led me to a lot of these crazy comic book characters, and it actually showed me that I'm pretty much a comic book character too, through the reflection of all these people. And that's kind of and then that's just kind of what it's been like in a nutshell.
Yeah, when you allow life to just happen and you go on this spiritual journey, abundance and prosperity and relationships, they start coming to you. You don't seek it. It comes to you.
I can absolutely relate to everything you guys just said. It's amazing.
Yeah. And that's how he came to me. I wasn't looking for him at all, but he came into my life, and I was very thankful and very happy that we are aligned in thought and in spirit, and now we're in a triangle. Here we are again. We're in a great geometric triangle of thought and spirituality. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. So, Ronnie, how did you become interested in this type of work that you're doing now? And which of these on your list of credentials came first?
Yeah, so Well, the way that I got into it was just natural inquisitiveness. Because like I said, I had always been a high performance athlete. And so when I was 18 years old, I had my first knee injury, which led to my first knee surgery. And then I went through a couple years of rehabilitation and corrective exercise physiology therapy. And so that particular moment was where I really started to study the physiology of sports mechanics. And I started to learn about more than just the dynamic, just the mechanics of like the sport that I was in, but actually learning the mechanics of corrective rehabilitation and how to heal the body through movement patterns and through therapeutic approaches to, weightlifting, for example, not just building muscle, but how to actually build the micro muscles and repair the tendons that surround the patella tendon of the kneecap, for example, how to heal the body through that kind of means. And so that was my first introduction into the healing arts, through just helping to heal my knee injury. And then so that just led me through a natural inquisitive process of healing in order to recover for my sports goals, because ultimately my purpose was about sports performance. And so I started to realize that I had to heal. I had to understand recovery. And then a number of years later, I had another knee injury on the other knee. And by that time, I was a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and enough had opened up in me where I started to realize I needed to change more than just my recovery methods. I needed to change my diet. I needed to change my approach to my lifestyle, because I realized that there was a connection between what I put in my mouth and how my body healed or didn't heal. And so that I just started to explore that. And I went on YouTube University, started looking into different perspectives on diet and that kind of thing. And I just got led down a corridor of different perspectives. And eventually I landed on organic food. I landed on a little bit of the paleo perspective of things. And then eventually I landed on raw living foods and juicing, green vegetable juicing, raw foods, vegan vegetarianism. And that's kind of how I got into it. And I had an amazing experience with the 30-day raw food experiment, and completely healed my knees, healed all the inflammation in my body. And I had a spiritual or a consciousness upgrade at the same time. And that was when I kind of had this transition moment where I realized that I was going to make a huge turn in my life direction from just being focused as an athlete and really wanting to share this message of health and wellness with people. And that was about maybe 11 years or so ago. And that's kind of how that opened up for me. And it was really just a synchronistic series of events that happened. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just following out this thread, and life was just kind of revealing its secrets to me. And so the credentials was, I didn't really become a nutritionist until that moment. I had a series of challenges, and particularly with the vegan diet after that, and I lost a lot of weight. I didn't know, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, fruits and vegetables. That's what you do. And then
those are the key. Those are the keys.
And that was a great cleanse. That's what I realized. That was a great cleanse, but I lost a lot of weight. And I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to educate myself on how to actually do this properly, because, if I just eat vegetables and fruit and that's it, then I get that little endorphin high, but I also am losing a lot of weight. I'm not feeling good. People are kind of worried about me. I'm getting a little gaunt. So I need to actually understand how to nourish myself and how to do this health food thing and this vegan thing appropriately. And so that was the moment I decided, okay, I need to study this like a nutritionist. And I actually became a nutritionist and studied and got my first certification as a holistic nutritionist, and the rest is history from there.
It sounds like you went down the rabbit hole and you were awoken when you're awoken, and then you connected mind, body, and spirit, and you were hooked. You were hooked, and that's exactly what happened with me. In many, we've had this conversation before, Jessica. I won't go into it all, but yeah, once you get hooked on that knowledge and that truth, you keep going down rabbit holes until you find the truth, and you start connecting all the dots, and then all the dots start connecting, and it's like, oh my God.
Incredible.
And the journey continues. Go ahead, Jessica.
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. And I can relate to that as well. Just from testing different things, different diets, the raw food thing, I noticed a change in my intuitive ability. I do spiritual readings, and Russ knows this. I dream sometimes in the 5D, like, I don't even know how to explain that one, but it just comes to me in symbols. And I noticed that when I'm eating, the live foods, or the ones, that are raw, I do a lot of green juices, there's a complete shift in my energy. So I love that you shared that with us. Ronnie, is that how you got into the herbal medicine? I saw that on your website. You have some amazing therapies with herbal medicine.
Yeah, I think it all corresponded around each other. I'm a very holistic type of person, so reference points together. So it started out with the raw food thing and the green vegetable juicing, and then eventually I got into the superfood concept and superfood smoothies, and started playing with that and integrating that. And then after that, I think the time herbals came in, Vedic medicine, and just the different shamanic approaches to herbal medicine in different these medicine cultures, basically. And then I started to bring that piece in, and it all kind of just built on top of itself. And that's really always been my approach. I really get into different pieces and components, but I also see how they all work synergistically together. And so that's how that all came in.
Very cool. I love it. So Russ, would you say that you and your network of fitness, health, and spirituality coaches are all learning something new from each other continuously? And can you give me some examples?
Oh God, yeah, 100%. As I said just briefly earlier, 5 minutes ago, through this journey, we meet so many people, and we're always sharing information, especially the ones that are seeking the knowledge. They just want to keep on learning and learning. Like Ronnie, there's always an event or something that sparks your journey. I've had many sparks throughout my life. But I'll start with I was a raw vegan for a year, and that happened because I owned a tequila brand, and I was getting out of the tequila brand. I was quite from what I saw within that industry, it pushed me in the opposite direction. Wow. I didn't want to be anywhere near alcohol anymore, and I wanted to become healthy, and I stopped everything, and I became a raw vegan for a whole year, and really haven't drank a lot since then. That was in 2012. But yeah, through this journey, I just keep meeting more and more people in different areas, of nutrition and breath work. As you know, I do a lot of breath work and meditation. And it's funny that Ronnie just brought up the plant medicine from the jungles, and with the ayahuascas and things of that sort. All those people, I don't know why, are starting to come to me. I haven't done it yet, but it's definitely it's sparking interest. Because you have to listen to the universe. I'm a big Taoist, and you go with the flow. When the river's telling you to flow in a direction, you flow in that direction. So that's kind of how I've always lived my life. I kind of just follow the energy that's given to me, and I've always been that way my whole life. In our last podcast, I mentioned to you that at a young age, I was very Buddhist in thought, and I'm finding more and more throughout my life that I must have lived many lives because I'm very spiritually connected to a lot of these ancient religions and thought processes.
Incredible.
I don't know if that answered your question completely, but
it does, because basically, it's this, like you were talking about synergy before and synchronicity. The people that are in your circle, it's like you're constantly lifting each other up, or learning something new, raising vibration to the next level. So
helping each other. We're always helping each other. Jiu-jitsu is that way. That's why I love jiu-jitsu, because we, in that sport, it's a mind, body, soul connection, and we are always helping each other. It's kind of like the way the world should be. The world should follow, jiu-jitsu or whatever has that same philosophy. Helping each other become the best soul that you can possibly be, the best human that you can possibly be. It's not there's only competition on the mat, and after that, we, when we're done rolling, we're like, hey, you could do this to get better, do you remember when I did this? Well, you could have did this. It's we're constantly helping each other in life. My meeting with Ronnie is much the same. We met and we're trying to figure out how to help each other, how to help the world, how to help humanity.
Right.
I love humans. I love, myself and others. I want everybody to do well.
Right.
So when we gain knowledge about nutrition or athletics or about breath work or about meditation, just for me, I can speak for myself. I feel like I want to share that with the world so that they can help themselves. And we do live in a one universal consciousness. So if we're all connecting to that and helping each other, then we're going to constantly live in a better reality, consciousness.
Absolutely. So Ronnie, what type of athletics are you into now?
What I'm really into right now is just functional training. So I do a lot of just a diverse movement patterns with different weights. I do different things like steel mace movement patterns and steel club movement patterns, and just basic weight training. I don't do a whole lot these days, and especially with the lockdown and everything, I haven't found the need or even the desire to do a ton of intense working out, especially because I've done it all my life. I kind of just don't have that same fire to be working out all the time or to be playing sports. I mean, I definitely have a little bit here and there, and over the years, I'd say mostly it's playing pickup games of basketball in my free time and doing martial arts and things like that. But as of lately, it's just been movement patterns and keeping the body limber, keeping the body strong, and that kind of thing.
Amazing. And can you delve a little deeper into everything that you offer and how it's all connected?
Yeah, as far as my work is concerned?
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Well, so I do a number of different things. I have a few online courses right now that people can check out on my website. And I have a holistic nutrition certification program called the Holistic Health Mastery Program. And that was created, I think, in, I want to say 2014, 2015. And that is a very, very comprehensive deep dive into all aspects of holistic health and holistic nutrition, and people that are really interested in that area would get a lot of benefit out of that. And then I have a mini course called the Tonic Herbal Mastery Program, which is basically a deep dive expose into tonic herbalism and creating a tonic herbal alchemy bar in your own kitchen. So those are really cool educational courses that I love, and there's some new things in the works. But what I do aside from that is I really work with people in a very integrative and holistic way. And what I mean by that is I don't really do just simple nutrition consulting or anything like that anymore. That was many, many years ago. I take people through immersive transformational experiences. They're very much body, mind, mastery focused. Everybody that shows up on my doorstep, so to speak, they have a different issue. They have different goals. They have a different constitution or circumstance that they're working through. And I really work with people from a human optimization point of view. So there's always a physical optimization component. So that's when we bring in the lifestyle, the quote unquote biohacking, if you want to use that terminology. I just use a human optimization, really creating a lifestyle that's based on optimizing your physical and mental performance and well-being. So we bring that piece into it. And then there's a mental development aspect of it, where we're doing things to help develop somebody's mind, develop their attention span, develop their learning potential, develop their ability to focus and to release kind of the looping cycle of the reactive mind, the left hemisphere of the brain, kind of opening up the channels of the mind so people can get more out of their mental faculties. As well as also the emotional component. That a lot of times what that looks like is trauma release work. So working with people to release their accumulated wounds or traumas that they've experienced that gets stored into the physiology of the body,
Right.
our issues are in our tissues, so to speak. So, cleansing and everything is important, but we also have to repattern our nervous system. And a lot of that trauma is actually is built into our nervous system, our muscular system. So there's different things that we might work on to help people emotionally release a lot of that stagnant energy that a lot of times is getting away, and can also influence addiction cycles as well. So that's all in there. That's kind of the work that I find myself doing with people more one-on-one. Sometimes people will fly out to me and they'll stay with me, and we'll do like 3-day intensive immersion experiences. Those are my favorite things to do, really getting in there with people over at least a 3 to 5 or 7-day period, and really doing immersion type of experiences. That's kind of an example of some of the things I do with clients.
That is incredible. I love everything that you just described. I'm a hypnotherapist, as Russ knows, and I do NLP as well. So I'm big on, releasing the traumas, because I've seen, trauma that has caused sickness and just overall unhappiness and unhealthiness in people's lives. And they don't realize sometimes how their emotional health is so, so crucial to the life that they're living. It's not just physical. So I just love your all over holistic approach to all of this. It sounds incredible.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And so Russ, now I know from chatting with you previously that you've delved right into the breath work. And can you tell us about your experience with that?
Sure. I studied recently with a breatharian, and I was led to it naturally. There is a guy that I went to college with, and he called me up one day and he said, his name is Vito Melnicki. I'll give him a little shout out. And his son is one of the best boxers in the world right now. He's only 18 years old. He's 5 or 6-0. He's a professional boxer. He was the youngest teen ever to turn pro in the state of New Jersey. But anyway, he said, I got a guy that I want you to teach jiu-jitsu to. And his name is Anthony DiLorenzo, and they call him Dilo. And so I said, sure, I'll teach him. So I started teaching Anthony jiu-jitsu and getting him ready for his pro debut, which he's having his pro debut in Mississippi in less than a month now. So we got him ready in like 3 months, but which was pretty amazing. And he's a very dedicated, guy, young kid, 23 years old. But
wow.
anyway, he introduced me to his best friend, which, and he said, you got to, Anthony and I would have these conversations about spirituality and nutrition and, obviously about jujitsu and working out and just mindset in general. And he said, wow, you sound exactly like my best friend. And that's how I was led to breath work. Now with the breath work, it's a 9-week course. I can't teach it right now, but it's amazing, amazing, amazing. I was doing meditation on my own for, I don't even know how long, but many, many years. I've been doing meditation every morning and night. I dove into that. I went down that rabbit hole for many, many, many years. And now I'm diving into the breath work rabbit hole, and it started with this breatharian. Then it went to Brian Marabella, who is Oxygen Advantage, and that is more, for the high, addressing the athletics and increasing your cardiovascular system for athletics. But for everyday life, I do Tumo breaths every morning. I do fire breaths for lunch. I literally eat my oxygen for lunch.
Wow.
And then I do my breath work in the morning. I do it at lunch, and I do it right before I go to bed. And right now it's mostly the Tumo breathing. And this, it's diaphragmatic breathing, which activates the oxygen in your lower lungs, and then it spreads that oxygen throughout your body to all the cells and organs, therefore putting your body into your parasympathetic nerve. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and repair state that your body is in. So if you're doing the breath work in the morning and lunch and in the afternoon, you're basically in rest and repair all day long, and your body is in harmony with itself. And when I do it, I'm touching my feet on the ground outside, so I am literally in touch with nature, and I'm doing it in the sun as much as possible. So, there's many reasons for all of that. You're connecting with the circadian rhythm of the earth, which is 7.83, and that is in harmony with your body, because that's the frequency and vibration that we understand. And then we are getting the biophotons from the sun, which electrify our electrons, which give us our energy. I can go deeper into that. We have crystals throughout our whole body, and the electrons connect to our crystals that connect everything. We have millions of them throughout our body.
I love crystals.
Yeah. Well, that's why we feel so good when they're around us.
Totally. Yeah.
We can go back into the creation of the human, talk about, they were a big part of our creation.
Right.
So I am a big proponent of breath work and and how it affects the body and mind and spirit. And I'm going deeper and deeper into, down this rabbit hole.
I'm really excited to try that with Brian. So we're going to exchange services. I'm going to do some spiritual readings for him. He's going to give me some breath work. Yes, so I'm really excited.
Yeah. Lastly, let me just say, I'm an athlete as we mentioned, and I'm definitely interested in learning more about how it affects your athletics. So it's just a natural progression for me, to go down that path. As you know, I'm still competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've taken classes with Brian. I've done a lot of his techniques, so I know a lot of the techniques that he's using and a lot of the techniques that he's teaching to guys like Jordan Burroughs that like we mentioned on the last podcast. So I use those techniques, and I know they work. Right. I'm 50 years old, and the guys that are on the mat with me will tell you that's one thing that they all say is that my gas tank is never ending. It just I don't get tired.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ronnie, let me ask you this. I know that your therapies and the way that you take a client on is it's catered to them specifically towards the individual with those individuals' needs. But overall, what would you say is the key to transforming one's life for the better?
Wow. What is the key to transforming one's life for the better? Well, ultimately, it's the decision that we all have to make, right?
Yes.
I think it ultimately comes to decision, and the word decision means to create an incision between one point of one timeline and another. So to decide, and when you hear that, when you hear that side on any, when you hear the word side combined with any other word, it means kill. Like suicide, homicide, pesticide, insecticide, fungicide, rodenticide, algicide, dusticide.
Wow.
It all means to kill. Biocide, which is what glyphosate is, it kills all biological life. So that word decide is very, very interesting and very, very powerful. And so I think it really comes down to the ability to make a decision and to create an incision in those things that are not supporting us, and to get on board with the timeline that's going to lead us towards where we want to go. Easier said than done, obviously, but it starts there. Right. And then we have to continue to make that decision over and over and over until we become the person that does the thing naturally. So there's a component of this that is an identity shift, an identity evolution. And you just have to get into the game, right? You can't just be on the sidelines and just be a spectator and just think yourself towards your goals and like, okay, it's just going to happen. And when everything lines up and the universe grants me permission, it's all going to line up. It's like, you got to get out there and get in the game and just start swinging the bat, start running, start doing whatever it is you need to do. And life will have to conform to that because that's where the energy is going. Even if it feels like an uphill battle at first, the only way to get to the top of the mountain is to start climbing. So that's kind of like the basics of that, I think. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they feel like there's too much inertia or resistance before them, and they can't quite get going. And so they just have to do something that's going to push them in a positive direction, and then to do another thing and do another thing until the momentum starts to get created. And now once they have momentum, then they have some energy, then they have some motivation, then they have some enthusiasm, and then eventually that momentum creates a carrier wave, and that carrier wave will carry them to the next destination. But it's the ability to make that decision, to follow through and just get going. Really nothing trumps that, and nothing really comes before that. That's kind of the end all be all. And I think every other principle, it comes in alignment to that. It conforms to that, but people got to get up and get moving and just put one foot in front of the other.
I absolutely love that answer. And when a client comes to me and they decide that they're sick of feeling the way that they're feeling, I say, okay, you made the decision. Now, like you said, Ronnie, how are you going to keep making that decision? So I will develop a hypnosis script that basically every time they're feeling a lack of motivation, or just as many times a day as they can, listen to the affirmations, get it in your subconscious, because when you can change what's going on in the subconscious, you can keep making a better decision. It's just that some days people make a decision and then the next day it's harder to make that same decision without something that's working with the subconscious. That's been my experience with it. So
called an accountability coach. they need an accountability coach.
Yeah, that too, but affirmations, hypnosis, even guided meditations geared towards the person's decision, their new decision that they want to make. It's just been so crucial that I tell them, you need to smother yourself in this.
Yeah, immerse yourself in this.
That's right. Yes. So Ronnie, I'm so curious about this as well. Do you ever get clients who are not spiritually awakened, and how do you approach that, knowing all that you know and being so woke?
Yeah, I mean, everybody comes in all shapes and sizes and temperaments and backgrounds, and I think everyone that I work with has some level of insight. And it's interesting trying to define something like that, because really it's going to be different for everybody. And some of the people that I've met in some of the more, I guess, spiritually orientated communities, that kind of have this overt spiritual theme going on with them. A lot of them, I would say, are embodiment perspective, meaning that they're not actually really good people morally or ethically, but they have this guise of spirituality. So it's kind of like, what does that really mean at this point? I really feel like, just on that note, it's really just about being a good person, being a heartfelt person, being an ethical person. And everybody has a different belief system or a different faith system that they follow. And so with that in mind, yeah, I feel like most people are awake in that sense. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's awoke to the intricacies and the metaphysical understanding that, say, I am, or people in my circle are. But there's a willingness, there's an opening there, there's a desire for more understanding, or a desire for greater results in the area of their life, particularly their health and wellness. And that usually creates the opening for more of a spiritual insight to take effect with people.
Keeping an open mind, I find. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. There are so many people that are closed-minded, and quite frankly, they follow the mass media.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those people, by the way, we're finding in this whole great awakening process that's happening. There's a lot of those people that we might have trusted as spiritual leaders, that were famous authors, and that were people that were kind of on the stage of what mainstream spirituality. I won't say any names. I know
what you're saying there, sir.
There's a lot of them coming out publicly about wearing your mask and voting for, go out there and hashtag vote, and or literally pushing a particular agenda that is anything other than where any of us that are quote unquote woke or awoken know that we should go.
Right.
So that's a very important thing to point out too. And that's why I brought up this whole thing of like, well, what does spirituality really mean? There's a lot of these characters that, they might have written really, really famous books, A Course in Something, and this and that. And
I have theories about that.
Yeah, as do I. And I just want to point that out, because we are now really in a time where the Great Awakening is here. We thought it was 2012, but it turns out we just had the mathematics off about 8 years. And wow. we are now actually at that epoch point where up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. We have an inversion of logic and an inversion of truth masquerading as the opposite. And if we have the eyes to see, and we can discern between truth and falsehood, that to me is what real spirituality is actually about. It's not the cosmetic spirituality. It's the ability to see between the lines, to see truth from fiction.
Because we're connecting to the divine at that point. We are connecting to truth.
Yes. Yeah. The truth is always the truth. It either resonates.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's what the universe does. We're one universal consciousness, and we're all adding to it. The truth will always come to the top. Always.
Always.
Right. I love it. This is amazing. So what happens, or actually, let me ask you this. Do you try to introduce your knowledge and expertise to people who are struggling, like with negativity within themselves, or just, their lives are a mess? Or do you wait for them to come to you?
Well, I definitely don't wait too long, because then I drop when So, I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? Like, so there's one aspect of like, okay, I have a platform and I have different ways that I get messages out there. And that's kind of like the coaching, teaching aspect, but in terms of like working with people, it's really a fluid thing. I don't have any agenda per se. I'm really in the flow state, and I'm really just paying attention to the dynamic that's happening. And this is a good thing for all coaches. I try to use language that is, it's kind of like, okay, like, I'll listen to somebody, I'll listen to what they're saying, and then I'll find a time to pop in and be like, okay, so this is what I heard. Are you open to feedback? Are you open to a reflection about that? If I have something to share with them to alter their frame of mind, I'll try to do it in a way that invites them invites them in, versus like, okay, look, like, just, I need you to just be quiet, like this kind of energy of like, I'm going to impose my perspective onto you. I'm not a babysitter. We're all grown adults. It's like, so, hey, look, like this just really came up, and I want to reflect something to you that I think might be helpful for you to see something different than where you're at right now or what you're not able to see. And that usually I find that to be very, very effective. And that's kind of the way I go about it. But other than that, people really arrive at their own conclusions just as a course of the work itself, especially when there's a release of trauma or releasing the addiction cycle in particular that people are caught up in. It's really removing the obstructions that are getting in a way of consciousness arising. Someone becoming.
They are plentiful now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. The food, the drugs, the alcohol, the smoking, the propaganda, the programming that has occurred since childhood.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think in a nutshell, just to keep it sweet and simple, the spiritual vision is really just like, it's really just the vision of humanity operating as functional human beings. That's at this point, that's like the best we can hope for, I think. Just moving through this little black hole that we're in right now. Like, I just really, on one level, it's really just it's really hoping for people to operate as functional human beings and basic respect and things. But beyond that, it's really, I think the ultimate vision is to see a world where people are in an optimal state of well-being, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and they are committing themselves to what is most meaningful. And what's most meaningful is always contributory. It's always a contribution to the bigger picture. That's always what's meaningful to people when they take the time to discover what's actually important to them. But it's all these immediate priorities, these little tangentials that we get stuck on, these worries and concerns and all this kind of stuff that get in the way of that. So it's really just, it's holding that vision that people, they take care of themselves and their families and those around them. That's the starting point. Mm-hmm. And then B, it's understanding that we live on a planetary realm, whatever you think this is, whether it's round or flat or it's triangular or there's a toroidal field, like in a dome. And like, there's so many different ideas and theories that I could trip people out on just on that, which is fascinating in of itself and does change your perspective on things as well. But without going deep down that, what I will say is wherever this is, we do live on a realm, if you will, that is mostly water, and it's surrounded by incredible lush vegetation called nature, and that's what supports us. And so we start to wake up and realize that nature plays a huge role in everything. So once we have our needs taken care of, people start to awaken to, okay, well, then I need to start looking at my food supply. I need to look at like how I'm engaging with my food and resources, and maybe I need to get into planting seeds or planting trees or getting into some wildlife initiative and reforesting. That kind of consciousness starts to happen. And then from there, it just becomes all about service. And that's ultimately what the vision, I think, is where people are feeling good. They're feeling so good inside of themselves that they just want to be of service. The reason people don't serve and they don't do these things is because they don't feel good. And when we don't feel good, we don't do good, and we don't make good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
as within, so without.
Absolutely. So that's kind of my overarching vision for humanity.
It is brilliant. I absolutely love it. So inspiring. And I'm so happy that we did this show today. Ronnie, before we go, what are the main things that you want people to know that you can help them with?
Yeah, great question. Well, as mentioned before, the actual mentorship work I do is really focused on the optimization of mind, body, spirit. So holistic human optimization. The main kind of focus that usually takes is somewhere around health, the mind-body connection in particular, I'd say. I also work with holistic health entrepreneurs in different dynamics as well. So that's something that I'm really excited about. And then, there's a lot of different, I'd say like beyond that, there's a lot of different ways that people can leverage my content and the stuff that I put out there. I have a podcast called the High Performance Health Podcast. People can look up multiple online courses and books and hundreds of videos all over YouTube and stuff, a lot of free content that people can jump into. And then they can look me up on social media as well. That's ways that people can take advantage of my message or my work, if any of this resonated with you. And if people are really wanting a transformational type of experience, then they can totally reach out to me and inquire. And then we do some kind of connection call to drop in with them and see what their goals are and what their challenges are. And if it's a good fit to work together.
Beautiful. And Russ, what about you? What would you like people to know that you can help them with?
Well, locally, I'm teaching people daily with their, exercise routines, their nutrition, and their breath work. So that's what I'm doing locally at this time. And as you know, I'm an entrepreneur and I do many other things, but, but health and wellness is something that is extremely important to me. And it's important to others. So I love spreading the knowledge. And I love meeting people like Ronnie and yourself and others that can expand my knowledge and expand my spirituality and that's what it's about. It's about learning as much as possible and growing as a spirit as much as possible. And I have a thirst for that, and I won't stop until I won't stop. I won't stop because as I said in our last podcast, we're pure energy, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So we jump into another avatar body after this until we reach pure consciousness, and they say that we go to other dimensions at that point. I don't know for a fact, because obviously our memories get wiped. But I don't know. People can remember some of their past lives. I'm sure you can tell me some stories about that.
Yes, I can.
that's probably for another podcast.
I'm so grateful that a good friend of mine and yours, Gerald Barclay, he connected us. He's like, you two are going to get along great. He was right. And thanks to you, Russ, I'm in touch with Ronnie now, and a few others like Brian, who I'm so happy to be on the same page with. I'm learning so much from all of you. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's been amazing to have you both on the show today. So before we go as well, Ronnie, can you just tell our listeners exactly where they can find you on social media or anything else you want to shout out before we go?
Yeah, sure thing. Easy to find me on social media. You can look up Ronnie Landis, and the current name you'll probably find is Ronnie Wild. That is me. So you can type in Ronnie Landis, and that should pop up anyways. That's still my registered handle. So social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then all my resources and everything are easy to find from there. If you're on iTunes, just type in either Ronnie Landis or High Performance Health Podcast. Probably Ronnie Landis is the easiest way to find me. And yeah, everything you should be able to find everything from there.
Perfect. Guys, check out Ronnie Landis. He's doing amazing things. Russ, you're also doing amazing things. Where can they find you, Russ?
At Russ Terlecki on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn, and yeah, those are all the best places. Instagram is probably the best, and it's just at RUSS Terlecki, TERLECKI.
Perfect. Guys, thank you once again. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on today. And I look forward to learning even more from you guys as time goes on. So thank you.
Ronnie, thank you, buddy. And Jessica, thank you so much. I'm very thankful for, both of you. I appreciate everything. And thank
Likewise.
You. Likewise. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, guys. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of A Billion Realities with your host, Jessica Gerlach. Visit us online at abillionrealities.com and follow us on social media at A Billion Realities. A Billion Realities is available on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Alexa, Reach.tv, or your favorite podcast service. A Billion Realities is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more great episodes and content, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com today. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And until next time, remember, we are all but one of a billion realities.